We are live, but we're also on tape. We are in Lee's Music, beautiful downtown Kamloops. It's not even really smoky outside. That's Chris Foulds. I'm Marty Hastings. This is Kamloops Last week. Big show today. I'm really excited to talk about Westin Newcomen. He's a great young man who did the special swim on Monday. You sent me out to do a story, and we're going to talk about him. You're not too happy about the election being called.
No, I mean, I don't know who would be happy with the election being called amid the plague, the wildfires, smoke, social issues, and now we have an election less than 2 years after we last went to the polls.
Kathy McLeod today as well.
Yes, we have Cathy McLeod as a guest, and that's very exciting because she is the outgoing MP for Kamloops, 4 terms, very long terms, and she'll talk about her career and maybe what's next.
First, let's put you in the good books with your wife. You hosted a party for her. It was a big birthday on the weekend.
Yeah, my wife turned 50 on August 17th, so on August 14th we had a big party, a COVID-friendly party. Well, everyone there was double vaxxed, I think, and I saw my 4 of my 5 siblings came up from the coast. I haven't seen them since 2019. So that was good to see them come up.
You had a band in as well.
We had Chris Rustin and Alex Ward, and they play some good jazz, some good old country, Ernest Tubbs, some Johnny Cash. If you ever have a shindig and you want 2 fantastic players, look up Chris Rustin, Alex Ward on Facebook. They're amazing.
And this is a good chance to plug Music in the Park, Magic Mike Miltimore behind the camera again. It's a big deal. It's happening again, and last night was a good night, some clear skies. I actually did a hike myself last night in the clear skies and put a podcast on. I was listening to Eckhart Tolle and Oprah.
Yes, Marty is learning how to lose his ego. It's a very interesting journey he's on.
It's going to be a long journey.
Yes.
It's tough to understand some of this stuff too.
Yeah, I know.
You're not your race, you're not your nationality, you're not your past accomplishments, you're not your past failures. That little voice in your head, that's not even you.
No, that's not you.
That's the tough one for me. I don't know how I'm going to get rid of that because it's constantly going.
I always thought it was Herman in your head. I wasn't sure about that. So yes.
You won't shut up.
Yes.
You live pretty close to the dunes where your party was. We're going to give away some golf passes today from the dunes. We're going to give away this basket of produce as well. Foulds, any comments on today's haul?
It looks very good. Again, it has my favorite, the red cabbage for the homemade salads, and
purple pepper.
Purple pepper, first time to see one of those. Very good.
Never seen one of those.
Yep.
All you have to do, okay, we're going to package it up too. We're going to give away in the same bundle this produce and the dunes passes. All you have to do is share this episode on Facebook. Before we keep going, my guy Herman, right here. Eyes on the camera. Okay, buddy? Let's go. Marty Hastings here outside New Leaf Produce Market with my new best Herman. Look at the camera, pal. Stay on your feet. Herman is paying us to do this commercial, but he said this. He said, Marty, on one condition. I do not want to be in the commercial. And I said, Herman, that is complete and total hogwash. You will be in the commercial. Because I won't let him be sheepish. Not when all of his produce is edible art, and not when it's a hyper-local labor of love from his family farm, Heffley Farms. And not when he sources seasonal product from more than 40 of the best regional suppliers, like Newfield Farms in Abbotsford, British Columbia. I had to see it for myself. Nothing like a good road trip. In you get, Herman. Yeah, but let's go! Get me some sour keys, pal. No peeking, Herman. Oh. Help my goodness, Steve. Are these strawberries ever good?
You're quiet today, Herman. Want some corn?
Have a bite, Herm. Oh, and yes, it's true. A lot of people have asked me. They say, Marty, is he awkward on camera? I say, you're darn right he is. But this is a quality man who deals only in quality produce, and he has to be seen. Right, Herm? Okay, bud, last chance to make the catch. Let's go. Embarrassing.
You're going to hurt Herman.
We also are giving away BC Lions tickets. Chris, I'm going to give you a chance to wax eloquently because last week you said that Mike Riley should play, and looks like you were right.
I was right. Mike Riley played, and the BC Lions, the mighty BC Lions, with no doubt in my mind, defeated the Calgary Stampeders. There is the Michael Riley right there, and actually today we're filming the show on August 18th, and within a few hours of this show, a new ownership group will be unveiled. It's a big, big day in BC Liondom.
I heard that this morning on the radio. Any idea who it's going to be?
I'm thinking it's either the Canucks ownership group or back to Maury Keith and the boys who love the Lions since the old days.
Michael Riley was named Player of the Week, but my Player of the Week this week is a young man named Westin Newcomen, and we're going to meet him in this next segment, which is called The Title of Hastings.
I received a call, an email from the parents of Westin Bayshore, as I call him, and he and it was a nice email, very nice. Yeah, it was an email, and it was explaining this amazing story that they're doing about their son has challenges, and he has been working for years with his caretaker. Bon, to swim. I think it was 25 or 50 meters every year. Every time his birthday, he would add another lap.
Right, so that's Westin Newcomen over there, and that's Bonnie Peterson, one of his support workers. Westin's 18. He lives with severe developmental delay, autism. He's also a bright light of a young man. Obviously, he has a ton of challenges and always will. That relationship to me was captivating. People like Bonnie, to me, with all the empathy and compassion that they have. Since he was 12, she's been working with him and adding a length on
every year.
Every 25-meter length for every year. So it started at 12, it's moved up to 18.
Yep.
The family decided, okay, let's make a showing of this accomplishment to honor Westin, but also inspire some other people. He can do 18 lengths now, which is 450 meters, which also happens to be the length across Paul Lake from the family's dock.
That's
so
right.
They invited us out to document it, and that's what we did.
So did you put some chairs on the boat?
So did you, buddy? I like the car.
I'm going to try and say that to them as we're going, because these people are here to see, and because they're so proud of what you're doing. They're just so excited to see a young fellow who's 18 years old swimming across the lake. Just so he can take that feeling away with him and know that he's done something special.
So right away, I knew, and I remember lying in the hospital bed, and he was on my chest nursing, going, okay. So I knew right away, Marty, and it was like you own it or you reject it. And I wasn't rejecting the journey, but it hasn't been easy, I will tell you that.
The main message is that, if you have a kid with some challenges in his early days, that he can overcome them and be much like a typical kid when it comes to playing in the lake and having fun in the summer when, a lot of people think that's maybe a limitation.
Everyone's different. I think I went into the dark, deep basement of grief, really figuratively too. And literally I was in the basement of the house, I couldn't get out. I'd say 5 to 7 years.
Show me the money. Jerry Maguire, show me the money.
I really woke up when I got sick. Sometimes mothers get sick when they have high stress situations. I had a brain tumor in 2008 and a craniotomy. And just before the craniotomy, I decided I could be angry and grief stricken my whole life with this monkey, or I could choose to embrace the journey. And I got through the grief and then I embraced it. And, there's tough days still, 100%. But we do have choices in how we respond to events in our lives. And that black hole isn't very friendly. So it's been really challenging that the seizures, however, we got those under control. He's a poster boy for medical cannabis. He's on CBD, seizure-free. But he was a violent boy at adolescence, and he got kicked out of elementary school and wasn't welcome back to any elementary school. He's less programmed, less is more, and we're trying to learn from that. He's absolutely a calm and happy child. He hasn't been a violent boy for about 5 years.
Bonnie seems like she's been a pivotal person in your lives. What can you say about her?
Oh, well, she's one of the village people that you adopt as a family member. She believes Westin is, the greatest thing on earth, and that's what you want in your village people.
Nan told me you entered their life when Westin was going through, I guess, a period of rejection. I think he maybe had just been ejected from school or expelled from school or unwanted from school or something.
Things were difficult, yeah.
What did you see in him at that point?
Well, I guess I wasn't even aware of that. And I take the young people the way they come to me. I don't read past report cards. I take them because they react to everybody differently. So I take them the way they are and the way they come to me. And we go from there.
I think there'll be a few tears. I think there'll be a lot of cheers. And yeah, I guess I'm a bit nervous because I hope he makes it. Anyways, we're not going to let him give up. That's one thing we don't do.
Come on. Okay, we did it. Yeah. Well done, buddy.
Okay.
It's not the
See you on the other side, Westy. Yay!
Being a mom has probably been the best thing I've ever done in my life. And after the grief of Weston's high needs and knowing that he'd be a dependent his whole life, there's an incredible amount of pride, Marty. And swimming across this lake is just a small example of the pride I have for this boy.
Swim across the lake, babe. Woo-hoo!
He'll say to me, proud of me? And I think, oh, I am so proud of you. It's just, he's just, I don't know. He's just a very special young man.
I think he calls you Bon Bon. Is that correct?
Yes, he does. So I call him Bestie Westy or Westy Bestie.
Bestie and Bon Bon. What a tandem.
Yeah.
Jerry Maguire!
Yeah, I mean, he's not rejected anymore because he's not violent. Who wants a violent person around? But he's just a beautiful soul. It's contagious. He's amazing. So you'll see.
Show me the money! Show me the money! Westy bestie buddy, yeah!
He's so excited about going across the lake. He tells people, and I say, well, can you tell so-and-so how many laps you've done? 18. And I said, what are you going to do in the summer? And then I'll say, I'm going to, he said, swim across the lake. So he's excited about sharing that with somebody else. And I think he's just going to be so proud of himself.
Even a story like this is a little step in the direction of, hey, right? These people have a right to be included in all ways.
Come on over to the ladder.
Some of them are just totally disrespected. They could be in a room and they're as far as the other people are concerned, they don't exist. Mm-hmm. And they need to be respected and given a voice.
How proud are you of him for what he's done and what he's doing?
So proud. So proud.
Oh, the videos, it's great, and the story in our newspaper and our website is inspiring. When I was watching it, I had a lump in the throat because just watching Westin, watching his brother Finn, watching his father and his mother, watching Bon, watching everybody just talk about and cheer him on, and just the message, it's good. And like I say, I think I said on social media, amid all this sort of doom and gloom news that we're mired in. This is a really, really good story, and it's really resonated with a lot of readers.
Nan Stevens and Westin Newcomen are his parents, and I was wondering, I don't have kids, so for you, I mean, how do you think your life would change or would have changed if either of your kids were dealt some of the challenges that Westin has?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure I'd be as strong. I mean, you're going to be a parent, you're going to love your child no matter what, and as Nan mentioned in the story and in the video, it was hard, and she had to overcome a lot of challenges. My brother, one of my brothers, Daryl, his eldest child has been in a wheelchair since she was born. BC Children's Hospital, a lot of challenges there. So I see through him how tough it is and how strong a person needs to be.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to hear about how they're alienated. I know Westin used to be violent and he would bite and he was kicked out of school, as we mentioned in the video there. But they really wanted to capture, I guess, his essence and his personality, and I think you could really see it. It took me 1 second to see it. He bursts out of his house talking about Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire, show
he
me the
loves
money.
Beard, so he's coming up to my beard and having a little touch. And I think he would have handshaked me for 6 hours if I stood there. He's got the handshake going down. So it was my pleasure to be out there. And Bonnie, like I said, she really resonated with me. It reminded me again, I've talked about my mom like 3 times on the show, but these people who are always care about the people who are left out, the people in the corner that are maybe bullied or don't fit in. And she actually, she emailed me this morning asking me, what did I learn? You know, any more questions you want to ask me? She's just one of these people that's
like a living saint.
Yes, she's Saint Bonnie is what I would call her.
Yep.
Westin, he talked about Jerry Maguire, he talked about Show Me the Money, and we're going to talk about money in the next segment because you're not too happy about the federal election that's been called. So let's move on to Above the Folds.
1, 2, 3, 4.
There he is, Justin Trudeau. Let's talk about the election.
Well, we're in day 4 as we filmed this on August 18th. We're in day 4 of a 36-day election. I think it's the shortest election day you can do by law. Voters go to the polls on September 20th, which is exactly 1 year and 11 months since we went through the last election. I'm not sure what the point is to this. Nobody seems to know what the point is, except that Justin Trudeau wants to gamble and get a majority like John Horgan did last year and succeeded. Of course, as we filmed this today, last night in Nova Scotia, they had an election, and for the first time during the pandemic, the governing party fell. The Progressive Conservatives won and the Liberals fell. So that could be an ominous sign for Justin and the Trudeau. And
the money's a big thing for you.
Well, the money's a big thing, and I understand that the money comes from allotted budgets and all that. But Elections Canada said it's going to cost about $600 million to run this election, which is about $100 million more than the last election, due to an influx of mail-in ballots that will have to be counted afterwards. We won't know who won for 2 or 3, 4 days again because everyone's going to use mail-in ballots, and because of the protocols for the pandemic. $600 million, I get it, it's in a certain budget, but imagine what that money could be used for homeless issues, for firefighting efforts, for
First Nations
for healthcare to provinces. I mean, you know, if you spread it out, it's a drop in the bucket, but every dollar counts.
You were also dropping some F-bombs in the parking lot about this whole dissolution of Parliament.
Here's the thing, in 2007, under the Stephen Harper government, and kudos to all the parties back then, because I believe it was a minority government, they agreed to a fixed election date law. So from that day, from October 2009 onward, we're supposed to have an election every 4 years, the third Monday in October. And that law exists, but it's toothless because it doesn't preclude the Prime Minister from going to the Governor General and asking the Governor General to dissolve Parliament, which Justin Trudeau did this past Sunday. And the Governor General has always, but for one exception in the 1920s, I believe, has always granted that request.
So why do they always grant it?
Because they're appointed by the Prime Minister. They're a figurehead for the Queen. It's a pointless position. It's a waste of money. It's a relic to the monarchy that we should abolish.
And you think it might backfire. My anecdotal evidence of that is usually on my Facebook feed. It's always some Albertans that are posting memes of Trudeau and cussing him out, and my Alberta buddy chat group that I have are always ripping him. But it's more than just that now. I think there's some feedback, negative feedback from people that are outside of that anti-Trudeau, the hatred of Trudeau crowd that are saying, why now? What's going on?
Why? Well, some people say it's a power grab. He wants to solidify his majority. Justin Trudeau and the Liberal candidates will say, to their credit, to their argument, that what we want to do is certainty in uncertain times, and if we can have a majority, we can do more things. They claim that it's a toxic environment in the Parliament. All the other parties say it's working quite well. We're compromising. Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the NDP, says they by pressuring the government with other parties, the Bloc and the Conservatives, managed to raise the aid going to people through CERB and everything else. So it's compromise. When you have 2 kids, I have 2 kids, and they fight a lot when they're little. What was the first thing you say to them? I'm busy, compromise, work it out. And that's what the Parliament has been doing, in my opinion.
Well, you probably took them to the library and thought that would fix everything, but it didn't.
It does, and we need another one, a third one in this town.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
Okay, let's get to our next guest before we start fighting. Cathy McLeod in Last Week This Week.
Cathy McLeod, who is the outgoing MP for Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou. Cathy was first elected in 2008, and she has been elected 3 times after that, so she's a 4-term MP. Her last election in 2019 was her greatest victory over a formidable candidate, Terry Lake of the Liberals, and a few other candidates. But she decided not to seek re-election. She's done what she's done, and now she can sit back and watch the race unfold.
And she's been waiting patiently, chomping at the bit to talk to us. So let's bring her in right now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy.
Great to join you here.
Thanks for joining us. I know you're getting a lot of requests for sort of looking back at your career. Did you know the last time that you were able to watch an election from the sidelines and relax was 2006? Because 2 years later you were elected. And do you also know that in 2006, when you last watched an election from the sidelines, the BC Lions won the Grey Cup? So I think
I didn't have those two things together.
So I think the fact that you're now watching it in 2021 bodes well for the Leos this year. So thank you for giving them the cup this year.
I'll take all the credit for sure.
One other thing I'm not sure you're aware of, you had a 13-year run, 4 straight victories. Are you aware that you're the 3rd longest serving MP in the history of Kamloops since we became a riding in 1935?
I knew Nelson Reese was
Reese has had 20, yeah, and the great Davy Fulton. Great Davy Fulton had 18 years, and you're 3rd. So that's a pretty good record.
We'll be a few weeks shy of 13.
Yes.
As you said, this election is going to be a year and so many months from the last one. So
I know it's not very long at all.
And had they not, I might have actually beat. If they'd gone the full mandate, I might have even gone to 2nd place.
I think so. I think you would have had they followed the law that was passed that no one's following. What are your thoughts on the election call? Obviously, you're not happy with it, but is there any benefit to it?
It's not the time. I mean, it is not the time for an election. And for anyone to say that Parliament was not working, they weren't able to get things done that they wanted to, every single piece of legislation they had a dancing partner for. So whether it was the emergency response benefits for the pandemic, whether it was the strike in Montreal, they always had a partner who supported them in passing the legislation. So for anyone to say this minority parliament was dysfunctional, it wasn't working, I think that's false. This is an election about the current government wanting a majority government, and that's just to make things easier. They don't like it when there was many times in this parliament where the opposition parties defeated the government on something that was not a confidence measure, but something that was right for Canadians, and they didn't like that happening. That's at least my perspective. But I mean, we have a pandemic, we have the Delta variant, we've got BC on fire, we have, our Afghan interpreters and their families sitting on the tarmac in Kabul, desperate to get home, mired in, bureaucracy and red tape. So to me, it's a really unfortunate timing for sure for an election.
I think so too. I wrote that in a column here. Now that doesn't preclude people from saying, okay, now that it's here, we have to cover it. People have to vote. People have to do the research. Have you noticed some from 2008 to now, through your tenure, Canada sort of sliding the way the States has, especially since 16 onward, for this extreme partisanship, which gets really bitter? Have you noticed that seeping into politics at all? Not to the degree, obviously, but somehow?
I think mostly, and I would say, again, the hybrid format, although it was necessary at the time, you lost those opportunities that you would normally have to have those good conversations. And I think, to some degree, the prominence of social media and, the very sort of strong opinions, whether it's left or right or in the middle, that perhaps has not been as healthy in terms of the normal dialogue that you might have, for sure.
Seems like a natural time for you to reflect, and I know you've been asked these types of questions. But what about your greatest achievements and your greatest failures? What do you think they are?
To be part of a community, to move their goals and dreams forward, but also to be part of their challenges. I think, I really enjoyed that opportunity. And as I say, when I drive throughout the riding, I can look at different things and say, this happened because we partnered together and made it happen. Or I can run into people and say, their lives were really made improved because of our supporting them get through some very difficult challenges with the federal government. So that would be from the riding perspective. In Ottawa, Canada Revenue Agency, as an example, Red Tape Reduction Commission winning the Cut the Red Tape Scissors, and the My Business account was part of the initiative there. As Parliamentary Secretary for Labour, moving mental health in the federally regulated workforce forward. And then, of course, the Indigenous file, where we were collaborative in terms of many, many initiatives. So Indigenous languages, Indigenous child welfare legislation. So a whole host of measures where working as an opposition, as the shadow minister, moving things forward. So I look, I wouldn't say they're sort of big, flashy accomplishments, but I think they were important accomplishments and certainly things that I'm proud of. If you talk about things that, I wish had happened differently, I came to Parliament with a really solid background in healthcare and some ideas about how we could move the healthcare agenda forward. Canada, actually, if you saw this latest report, is 10th out of 11th in the country. So we say we have a great system. We actually don't have a great system. And so I think, my ability to move that agenda forward is probably my biggest disappointment, because I don't think since 2008, we've made any substantial improvements to any degree in terms of our healthcare system. It's going to take some big, bold measures, and quite frankly, I'm not sure any party is willing to do any more than tinker around the edges.
One of the memories that will stick with you forever, and it's a frightening one, is when in the shooting at the Parliament in 2014. Can you talk a little bit about that day again and remind people how fragile life can be in your mind when something like that happens?
We heard shots ringing out, and to be frank, I think what we all believed was that there was a lot of gunmen, because there was certainly an awful lot of shooting, and that they were it was up right outside the main corridor in the Hall of Honor. And to be frank, it would have been we were lucky. It was a sole gunman, and all the shots we were hearing was the response of the protective services. But had that been a more sort of focused approach, it could have been very, very lethal. And as I say, at that time, the Prime Minister, Minister of Defense, Minister of Public Safety were basically sitting ducks. Mm-hmm. And so it really sort of made, I think, Parliament and parliamentary protective services aware of how fragile and how it could have been a very much more tragic outcome than it was.
Everybody's talking about wildfires right now for good reason. How concerned are you about the challenges facing Kamloops and the challenges facing government around the wildfires and the issues of climate change?
The federal government is going to have an important role both now and in the recovery phase. So certainly now to respond to any request by the province, whether it's military, whether it's others. But more long term, I think we need to be looking at supporting our ranchers. I mean, there is federal programs that are important for our ranchers. There is programs that are for forestry. It's going to be incredibly important. People are suggesting, and maybe it's not a bad idea. The military have a presence. They've had a presence in the wildfires, but their ability to do some of the jobs is limited by training. So maybe we need to ensure sort of an enhanced training for our military. So I think the federal government does have a critical role. Secondary egress, sun peaks, juniper, a special program that's federally, provincially funded that supports that adaptation mitigation that we desperately need.
And they might want to use Lytton as a blueprint because it has to be rebuilt anyway, right?
And I understand Logan Lake did a lot of really good work.
They did.
Up front and made a real difference. So communities have to learn from that.
It was the first fire smart community in Canada to get it accredited because they did a lot of work outside and they got the sprinklers on the roofs and all that kind of stuff.
Before we let you go, is there anything you want to talk about? Politics, entertainment, anything on your mind?
I just want to thank constituents of Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou. They have been for the great support over 4 different elections, for supporting me and giving me this opportunity. And I do want to give a great shout out to my team in the riding offices who work their hearts and souls to fix issues for constituents. And the stories of success are quite amazing in terms of people in very difficult situations. So giant shout out to my team. Thank you. And I think, as you noticed in one of your articles, a shout out to my husband, Gord, who, for 13 years has been an incredible support.
Awesome, Kathy. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chris, let's wrap the show. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a good show. Good show. Good to talk to the outgoing MP. Whether you support that party or not, I think even Terry Lake, when he ran against her before he ran against her last time, said she's been an effective MP. She works hard. She has a really good staff that help people and does the stuff that people don't even think about. I need a passport help. I need immigration help. It's not the sexy stuff, but it's the stuff that they do well on the ground.
What's on the go in our newsroom this week?
Newsroom this week, more wildfires. Is looking good so far, knock on wood. And City Council had a packed agenda, and we'll have stories coming from that, and just the news as it goes.
Thanks to Westin Newcomen and his whole family. Thanks to Cathy McLeod. Magic Mike and Bonnie once again doing their thing. Check out Music in the Park. Bonnie's got her hands raised up again. We
every night at 7 in Riverside until August 28th.
Scott Finley and the Grand Ones, they won't be there, but they were here again with us providing the music. So was Herman. He was here. Let's give him some camera time. I know he's getting jealous. He hasn't been on. He's healing up nicely from the tendonitis, from all the thumbs upping. He's doing well. Share the episode on Facebook. You get golf passes, you get produce, and we're going to figure out how to give these Lions tickets away. I still don't know how we're going to do it, but we'll announce it online, and you can win some Lions tickets too. Join the Last Week Clique. There's room to advertise with us too. Join the Last Week Clique. We'd love to have you on. Subscribe on YouTube, and until then, we'll see you last week.